Few brand rivalries in sporting goods can match the depth and duration of Adidas and Puma. Both are rooted in a small town in Germany. Both were founded by warring brothers, and both grew to become worldwide titans of athletic apparel and footwear. Their combined histories encompass triumph, tragedy, innovation, and constant competition, all told through the lens of sports and fashion. This article traces their story from the earliest shoe experiments of the Dassler brothers in post-World War I Bavaria, through the global expansions that turned the siblings' feud into a phenomenon transcending geography and time. We will explore how each company navigated geopolitical upheaval, adapted to changing consumer demands, embraced sports marketing, and found new ways to push athletic performance. Beyond that, we delve into how these corporations forged cultural identities, bridging the worlds of athletic performance and streetwear, sometimes overshadowing the feud that once defined them. The modern story of Adidas and Puma begins with Adolf, born 1900, and Rudolf Rudi Dassler, born 1898. Raised in the small German town of Herzogenaurach in northern Bavaria, the brothers developed an early interest in shoemaking. Their father worked in a shoe factory, and their mother ran a small laundry business. This environment instilled in both boys a hands-on approach to craftsmanship. After World War I, the economic climate in Germany was tumultuous, but it also opened doors for enterprising individuals. Adi Dassler, the more introverted and craft-focused brother, turned a corner of his mother's laundry room into a makeshift workshop. He began experimenting with shoe designs, focusing on creating functional, sport-specific footwear. Rudi, more outgoing, channeled his energy into salesmanship and networking. In 1924, the brothers formally registered their venture as Brüder Dassler Schuhfabrik, Dassler Brothers Shoe Factory. Combining Adi's design instincts with Rudi's business acumen, they produced athletic shoes that quickly garnered attention. Early innovations included specialized spikes for track and field, an emphasis on sturdy materials, and a fit that catered to different sports needs. Over the next decade, their small factory grew, eventually employing around 100 workers by the 1930s. The company's reputation for high-quality, performance-focused footwear spread within Germany, setting the stage for eventual global notice. In the late 1920s, sports were not yet the colossal industry they would become, but local clubs and athletic competitions were on the rise. The Dassler factory supplied shoes to regional teams, building a name for reliability. Adi remained obsessed with refining shoe construction, experimenting with cleat design, arch support, and durable outsoles. As Germany prepared to host various sporting events in the 1930s, the Dasslers eyed bigger opportunities. Exhibitions and fairs offered a chance to meet potential clients, and Rudi capitalized on these gatherings to secure distribution deals outside Bavaria. A pivotal moment arrived in 1936 when Berlin hosted the Summer Olympics. The Dassler brothers seized a chance to promote their brand on a global stage. They famously convinced Jesse Owens, the African-American track and field star for the U.S. team, to wear Dassler spikes. Owens went on to win 4 gold medals, demolishing the Nazi myth of Aryan supremacy. The endorsement gave the Dassler shoes immense visibility. That historic triumph also showcased the effectiveness of direct athlete sponsorship, a concept that would later become integral to both Adidas and Puma. After Owens' success, orders for Dassler footwear soared internationally, cementing the company's reputation for excellence. By the late 1930s, the political landscape in Germany had become fraught under Nazi rule. Both Dassler brothers, like many businesses, navigated the regime's demands. In addition, personal differences between Adi and Rudi were intensifying. Adi's quiet dedication to product development clashed with Rudi's brash marketing style and push for quick expansion. As World War II erupted, the business faced resource shortages, and eventually, parts of the factory were repurposed for military supplies. The once unified Dassler enterprise began to show fractures beneath the weight of external pressure and sibling rivalry, setting the stage for a more permanent split after the war. Several accounts attempt to pinpoint the exact spark that ignited Adi and Rudi's final break. Rumors speak of misunderstandings or insults during air raids. Others point to competition for control or claims that Rudi felt overshadowed. Political tensions also played a role, with each brother suspecting the other's allegiances during the war. Regardless, the rift was deep and personal. By 1947, irreconcilable differences made it impossible for them to co-manage the Dassler factory. The following year, they officially dissolved the partnership. The once thriving Gebrüder Dassler brand broke in two, dividing not only the company, but also the families, employees, and eventually the entire town of Herzogenaurach. Adolf Dassler took a portion of the facilities on one side of the Aurach River, focusing on his new brand. He combined elements of his own nickname, Adi, with the first letters of his surname, Das, to create Adidas, registered in 1949. Adi's guiding principle remained unwavering: craft athletic footwear to improve performance. Early Adidas shoes continued the legacy of specialized spikes and high-quality builds. Adidas's visual hallmark, the three stripes, soon emerged as a brand identifier. Initially, these stripes provided structural reinforcement, but quickly they became an iconic design element recognized worldwide. Adi, quiet but deeply committed, believed that success lay in letting the products and athletes' results speak for themselves. Rudolf Dassler, charismatic yet impulsive, set up his own operation across Herzogenaurach, calling it Puma Schuhfabrik Rudolf Dassler, shortened to Puma in 1948. Rudy's marketing flair led him to adopt a leaping cat logo, symbolizing speed, agility, and competitiveness. Puma's earliest offerings included football boots and running shoes, leaning on Rudy's skill in forging relationships with clubs and sports organizations. This formal schism not only birthed two separate companies, but also divided the local workforce. Family members, neighbors, and friends often had to pick sides, either align with Adi's Adidas or Rudy's Puma. For decades, the town of Herzogenaurach earned a nickname, the town of bent necks, implying people would look at your shoes to see which side you supported. Post-war reconstruction and brand identities. Rebuilding factories and redefining strategy. Post-World War II, Germany was economically devastated. Both Adi and Rudy had to rebuild their factories and secure raw materials in an era of strict rationing. They leveraged any advantage they had: existing molds, leftover fabrics, contacts from the pre-war years, and relationships with local craftsmen. While their personal feud lingered, ironically, each brother's brand had a similar mission: to create the world's best sporting shoes. Adidas' three stripes and Puma's formstrip. Brand differentiation became paramount. Adidas, the three stripes motif, which once served functional support, was soon officially patented as a design trademark. Adi Dassler spent much time refining shoe silhouettes, aiming for durability and performance. Puma, Rudy introduced the formstrip in 1958, a distinctive curved stripe along the shoe's side. This visual element became Puma's parallel to Adidas's stripes, both practical and brand-defining. The leaping cat logo evolved over time, eventually becoming synonymous with a sleek and energetic brand image. Early marketing initiatives. Adidas and Puma both recognized the value in sponsoring successful athletes, a lesson gleaned from the Jesse Owens experience. They raced to sign deals with football clubs, track and field stars, and more. While budget constraints loomed, a well-placed endorsement could catapult sales. This era laid the groundwork for the intense sponsor-based marketing battles that remain a hallmark of modern sports. The mid-20th century saw an explosion of interest in organized sports, from local clubs to international competitions like the World Cup. Adidas and Puma raced to innovate in football boot design. Screw-in studs. Adidas famously advanced replaceable studs, enabling customization based on pitch conditions. Lighter construction. Both brands looked for better materials, switching from purely leather uppers to synthetic blends that improved water resistance and flexibility. For track, each company refined spikes for sprinting, middle distance, and cross-country events. The overarching theme was specialization, an understanding that different sports demanded distinct footwear engineering. A pivotal highlight for Adidas came in the 1954 FIFA World Cup in Switzerland. The underdog West Germany team, wearing Adidas boots with interchangeable studs, overcame Hungary in the final, a shock victory dubbed the Miracle of Bern. The soggy field conditions seemingly favored the adaptable studs. This triumph solidified Adidas as a brand that tangibly improved athlete performance, accelerating its popularity across Europe. Not to be overshadowed, Puma gained traction by signing star players in football and track. In 1958, for instance, the brand was on the feet of notable international players. By the 1960s, Puma's promotional strategies reached overseas markets, especially in South America and Africa, creating global brand recognition. During this period, the personal animosity between Adi and Rudi manifested in intense competition for endorsement deals. Rumors abound of covert payoffs to athletes to ensure they wore the correct shoe brand. While official advertising was restricted in certain leagues or competitions, both companies found creative ways to display their logos or name to viewers. 7. Rising competition and global expansion, 1970s to 1980s. The 1970s, shifting consumer culture. After the success of football expansions, both brands aimed beyond Europe. By the early 1970s, the global economy was more interconnected, and sporting events like the Olympics or the newly expanded FIFA World Cup audience helped catapult sportswear into mainstream culture. Running booms in the United States, for instance, introduced a new demographic of fitness-oriented consumers. Adidas and Puma responded by launching lines not just for professionals, but for everyday runners and recreational athletes. Rivals in football and Olympics endorsements. The 1970s also featured marquee showdowns. Football. In the 1974 World Cup, hosted by West Germany, Adidas played a significant role as an official sponsor. Puma simultaneously sought deals with star players. Track and field. The Olympics remained a battleground. Elite sprinters negotiated shoe deals that included significant financial incentives. Brand representatives would linger near warm-up tracks, ready to adjust or provide the newest prototypes. Marketing moved from purely functional advertisements to more lifestyle-oriented campaigns. Consumers aspired to own the same products that top athletes used. This shift influenced both brand expansions into leisure wear, tracksuits, training jackets, and more. Beyond the fields and tracks, the 1970s and 1980s ushered in a cultural explosion in urban centers, especially in the United States. Hip-hop communities in New York embraced Adidas Superstar sneakers, famously worn without laces by groups like Run DMC. Meanwhile, Puma's suede became a staple in breakdancing scenes. What started as niche subcultural statements turned into significant mainstream fashion waves. For the first time, sports footwear was not purely for sports. It was everyday streetwear. During the 1970s, both Adi and Rudi Dassler grew older. Their direct involvement lessened, and new generations in each brand's leadership took the reins. Adi Dassler died in 1978, marking the end of an era for Adidas. Rudi had passed away in 1974. Despite the original patriarchs being gone, the rivalry lived on, entrenched in brand culture and product lines. By the 1980s, Adidas and Puma were well-established global entities, but faced competition from new entrants like Nike and Reebok. The 1990s introduced stiff competition, especially from the United States, where Nike and Reebok made massive gains. Adidas, somewhat stuck in older marketing modes, struggled initially to keep pace with Nike's edgy campaigns. Puma, too, experienced financial turbulence in the late 1980s and early 1990s, grappling for a distinct identity. Meanwhile, consumer tastes started gravitating to high-performance athletic footwear that also offered fashion-forward style. Adidas Equipment, EQT, launched in the early 1990s. The EQT line was minimalistic and performance-oriented, focusing on function over flashy aesthetics. The brand also unleashed the game-changing Adidas Predator football boots, developed by Craig Johnston, featuring rubber ridges for enhanced ball control. Puma Disc System. Puma sought to differentiate with a laceless tightening mechanism introduced in running shoes. This disc design was novel. Consumers turned a dial to tighten internal wires. While the technology had mixed commercial success, it exemplified Puma's willingness to experiment. Beyond the sporting realm, celebrities and musicians became valuable brand ambassadors. While Nike famously nabbed Michael Jordan, Adidas cultivated relationships with music stars like Korn and the Wu-Tang Clan, bridging the worlds of alt-rock, hip-hop, and street style. Puma similarly started experimenting with lifestyle endorsements, though it would not fully commit to a lifestyle pivot until the 2000s. Adidas acquisitions and Puma's reinvention, 2000-2009. Adidas acquires Salomon, Reebok, and others. Entering the new millennium, Adidas pursued acquisitions to broaden its product categories. In 1997, it acquired the French ski brand Salomon, though that synergy was short-lived, as the ski market didn't integrate smoothly with Adidas' core identity. A more seismic move arrived in 2005, when Adidas bought Reebok for about $3.8 billion, aiming to challenge Nike's dominance in North America more aggressively. These acquisitions allowed Adidas to compete in additional segments: outdoor gear, golf, and a broader range of casual footwear. The overarching strategy was to unify brand operations under the Adidas Group umbrella, though each sub-brand maintained some independence in design and marketing. Puma's lifestyle pivot, from sports to street couture. Following a series of leadership changes, Puma found new life by embracing the fashion realm, thanks partly to the efforts of CEO Jochen Zeitz. He recognized that Puma's potential lay beyond pure sports endorsements. Collaborations with designers like Jill Sander and the introduction of lifestyle-oriented sneakers positioned Puma as a trendy alternative to more overtly performance-centric brands. The brand also revived archival silhouettes from the 1970s and 1980s, appealing to nostalgic consumers. The famously casual Puma suede, for instance, re-emerged in fresh colorways, while collabs with street artists or upscale designers lent limited edition cachet. Tech innovations, climate control, smart footwear. While they adjusted their marketing approach, both Adidas and Puma continued pushing technological boundaries. Adidas rolled out ClimaCool gear, focusing on breathability for runners. Puma tested smart shoe concepts that tracked footfall or integrated sensors. Both brands researched advanced materials like thermoplastic polyurethane, TPU, and new midsole foams. Though overshadowed by some of Nike's technological marketing, these efforts signaled a continued dedication to performance-driven R&D. In the mid-2010s, Adidas began forging partnerships centered on environmental responsibility. The Adidas X Parley collaboration turned plastic ocean waste into high-performance yarn for footwear and apparel. The brand used these eco-friendly products in major marketing campaigns, aligning with broader corporate goals of reducing carbon footprint. Additionally, Adidas advanced boost cushioning technology, first introduced in 2013, revolutionizing running shoes with energy return properties. The Ultra Boost line earned hype among runners and sneaker enthusiasts, bridging performance with street style. Under new management, Puma doubled down on fashion lifestyle crossovers. Rihanna became a creative director for Puma's women's line in 2014, culminating in blockbuster Fenty x Puma releases. This partnership heavily influenced younger consumers, merging high fashion aesthetics with Puma's sporty heritage. Celebrity endorsements expanded with artists like The Weeknd, Selena Gomez, and brand ambassadors in esports or pop culture, pushing Puma beyond its 1990s slump. The 2010s saw the rise of social media marketing, with both brands leveraging Instagram, YouTube, and other digital platforms. High-profile football sponsorships, e.g. Lionel Messi with Adidas, Antoine Griezmann with Puma, ensured global brand visibility during major tournaments like the FIFA World Cup. Meanwhile, smaller influencer tie-ins tackled niche markets, from yoga enthusiasts to streetwear collectors, broadening each brand's demographic reach. Ongoing rivalry and cultural impact. Herzogenaurach, a town divided no more? For decades after the founding of Adidas and Puma, employees stuck rigidly to one brand or the other, even patronizing separate bakeries or shops. Over time, that divide lessened, aided by changing generational attitudes and the globalization of both companies. While the local rivalry remains part of the town's lore and is even celebrated in some ways, Herzogenaurach has largely moved on from the acrimony that once made it the town of bent necks. Streetwear collaborations and designer partnerships. Late 2010s to early 2020s saw an explosion of collaborations. Adidas locked partnerships with streetwear titans like Bape, Palace Skateboards, and high-fashion designers such as Stella McCartney and Alexander Wang. Puma worked with the likes of Karl Lagerfeld, Michael Lau, and reissued classic lines with modern artists. The brand's synergy with pop stars and influence in the sneakerhead community soared. These collaborations reinforced that sportswear was no longer just about function. It was part of broader cultural statements blending music, art, and lifestyle. Sports sponsorships and social media presence. Adidas remains deeply tied to football, sponsoring Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, and associations like FIFA. Puma invests heavily in the English Premier League, Serie A, and also partners with star players. On social media, both brands cultivate communities across platforms, sharing behind-the-scenes athlete stories, product teasers, and influencer-driven campaigns. Adidas AG, headquartered in Herzogenaurach, expanded its corporate presence to major cities worldwide. The brand invests in design centers in Portland, Oregon, and continues to refine its brand messaging. Impossible is nothing, being one iconic slogan. Several leadership transitions took place, including the appointment of CEOs with backgrounds from other global corporations to keep pace with fast-changing consumer demands. Puma, under Jochen Zeitz in the 1990s and 2000s, saw a revival that transformed the brand from near insolvency to a coveted casual street label. After he stepped down, new leadership, including Bjorn Gulden, steered the brand to further expansions, forging fresh sports sponsorships and continuing the lifestyle approach. Roughly from 2010 onward, direct-to-consumer, D2C, strategies gained momentum as digital storefronts allowed brands to bypass some traditional retail channels. Both Adidas and Puma launched robust online stores, offering customization and exclusive drops for hype-limited releases. This shift let them gather direct consumer data, shaping product lines more precisely to trends. As climate concerns and ethical consumption rose, both Adidas and Puma took new steps. Adidas championed sustainability through Parley for the Oceans, limiting single-use plastics in packaging and adopting recycled materials in mainstream lines. Puma integrated more eco-friendly materials, setting carbon reduction goals. Both have faced scrutiny over supply chain labor issues. Efforts to enhance transparency in workers' conditions are ongoing challenges in the global apparel industry. Looking ahead, factors like environmental responsibility, digital experiences, and competition with new disruptors shape how these longtime rivals adapt. 13. Milestones, mythologies, and key takeaways. 13 signature products that shape trends. Adidas Samba, Stan Smith, Superstar epitomize the brand's crossover from sports to casual style. Adidas Predator boots revolutionized football footwear with rubber striking zones. Puma Suede cemented Puma's place in subcultures from hip-hop to skateboarding. Puma King, a legendary football boot worn by icons like Pelé and Maradona. 13.2 lessons from a family feud turned global empire. The Dassler brothers' story is at once cautionary and inspiring. Their shared genius built a worldwide empire from a small-town workshop. Yet their personal conflict also shaped decades of competition. Modern business classes sometimes cite Adidas and Puma's rivalry as an example of how synergy lost can yield innovation gained. Two distinct brands that might never have existed if not for irreconcilable differences. 13.3 The next generation of rivalry. While the direct Dassler involvement ended long ago, the inherited rivalry endures. Both companies remain headquartered in Herzogenaurach, though their footprints are far larger now. In a market where brand loyalty is fluid and new challengers pop up, Adidas and Puma each strive to differentiate themselves, navigating shifting style trends, consumer demands, and the perpetual question of balancing performance with fashion. The legacy of Adidas and Puma began nearly a century ago with two enterprising German brothers, whose different temperaments fractured a single successful business into two separate powerhouses. Over the decades, both brands influenced the evolution of sports footwear, fueling performance innovation while shaping youth culture, street style, and global sports marketing. From the 1936 Berlin Olympics and Jesse Owens' shining moment in Dassler spikes, through the miracle of Bern, the wide adoption of casual sneakers in hip-hop, and into the modern age of eco-conscious materials and digital marketing, Adidas and Puma have played pivotal roles at the crossroads of sports, culture, and business. Their parallel arcs exemplify how rivalry can propel creativity and brand distinction. Though it was personal at first, it ultimately transcended the family feud, forging product lines that countless athletes, musicians, and everyday consumers treasure. In the end, the story of Adidas and Puma is about resilience, innovation, and the enduring human fascination with merging form and function, performance and style. Suggested reading and references: Barbara Smith, Pitch Invasion, Adidas, Puma, and the Making of Modern Sport, also titled Sneaker Wars, a comprehensive exploration of the Dassler brothers, covering corporate expansions, athlete endorsements, and the personal feud. Adolf Dassler, various interviews and archived letters from the early Adidas factories, translated from German, provide insight into the technical focus of Adi's designs. Jochen Zeitz, speeches and business articles during his tenure at Puma, charting the brand's reinvention in the 1990s-2000s. Company archives. Both Adidas and Puma maintain historical chronicles on their official websites, offering images of early models, timelines, and heritage stories. Shoe museums in Germany. Local museums in Herzogenaurach and surrounding regions often have exhibits dedicated to the Dassler family, early sports shoes, and the cultural significance of footwear. Sports histories and Olympic archives, for deeper context on how athletic shoes shape performances in track, football, basketball, etc. These sources can help curious readers dive into more nuanced aspects of design evolution, the marketing behind major endorsements, and the personal details that shape these two iconic companies. Any study of sportswear history inevitably intersects with the story of Adidas and Puma, whose combined influence resonates across decades of sporting, fashion, and cultural milestones.